clarify where we are as far as pursuing possible well sites, and then, look at other alternatives, which basically, as far as I can tell, there's only two. So, Wayne, you wanna update us on the well situation?
Is this the email that I sent
Yeah,
down to
well,
everybody?
this is the one that, yeah.
She sent- okay.
Yeah.
If I could just
Okay.
make it
Ron?
clear
Yeah.
that everyone knows that I'm videoing the meeting before you get started, that would be great.
Very good.
Thank
Any
you.
comments you'd like to make before we start?
No, probably not till you're done.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're on.
No
camera?
worries. Yep, you are.
All right. Where is it gonna show up?
God only knows.
Well, Oscars were just nominated.
Yeah.
There
We
you go.
won't make it this year, but there's another year to come.
Well,
Okay, so where we're at this point in time is we exhausted our possibilities at the schoolhouse site, and since that time, the Close family has been contacted, and they have indicated their interest in helping out the town find a groundwater source if it's available. We had Claude do an additional evaluation of the sites that he had preliminarily picked out at one point in time, way back in the beginning, when it didn't appear that there was any interest by Close family to provide possibility of groundwater for the town. That, I guess that attitude has changed to some degree, so Claude looked at the locations and came up with basically 2 points that would be of consideration, or 2 areas I should say. One is on the south side of their parcel next to School Street, and the other one is up towards Ron's side on 22.
I just wanted to make sure, okay, so the C and the B,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
He didn't really like the C and B alternatives. He liked the A and D, but D was somewhat compromised due to road salt and proximity to the town road. So, Close family. Pardon?
The state road?
No, Close.
Oh.
The School
Over
Street.
School Street, okay.
Yes. So, we had a conversation with Bob, and he had talked to the family, and they wanted him to be the spokesperson for the family. So we had about a 2.5 hour conversation with him on their concerns. After that, he went back to the family and came back with a bunch of questions, which is basically the email you have in front of you. And I kind of indicated to him that, you know, it's up to the town board, but any kind of agreements that were okay for the school site probably would be okay for their site. However, some of the questions that came back were, what kind of restrictions are they going to have on the property? I guess since then they've done some logging in that area, or are planning to do logging. And so anyways, if you want, we could go down through the email that
So actually, on a map, can I see where E and F are?
A and D.
Oh, I thought E and F were they
No.
said we would be okay.
Yeah, they would not Claude.
But
Claude
not
doesn't
Claude.
think it's good spots.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'm understanding better. So C and B are, we are at C and B.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we're primarily discussing the site A on his line 4.
Okay.
Can I just see where that is?
Oh, okay, sure. I'm upside down now. So this is the farmhouse. We did some initial testing on the farmhouse well, see what the quality was. This is just across the creek going north, and this is the fields they have now that are kind of overgrown. They're probably
Okay.
primary
Right around
location
the red lines.
Claude was happy with was site A. Again, site D was too close to the road, concerns about road salt, obviously.
Okay,
So site A, and can I ask, and I'm sorry, I'm just not
Yep.
seeing it, where is the storage tank?
The storage tank is past.
Not on the
that
map.
little-
It's not on the
little-
map.
Little block
it?
right there.
Okay, there's the storage tank. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we're still a ways. How far is that from the tank?
I didn't
About a half
block
mile.
it, yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
about half
Let's
a
see.
mile.
Over a quarter, probably a little less than a half.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
so
Close to
2,500 feet, just, okay.
and I'm not sure, I know we hit ledge down towards the schoolhouse, I'm not sure what we'd be hitting up there, if that's all clay or we're close to ledge along that area, but.
What it does, it seems to roll up and roll.
Yeah,
down.
it just comes up and disappears.
But it's a shaly too.
Okay. Alright, so if everybody wants to go to the email that was sent December 27th, that's the one you have?
Yeah.
Okay,
John, I think it's all on that.
Yep.
first paragraph, they're just discussing their conversations. I'm not sure what the last sentence means. It says, we see more clearly why water from the lake with advanced filtration is a prudent option. I'm not sure what they're talking about there, but.
Yeah,
Prudent if you got a deep well then.
yeah, I mean, that's the big question. Has money, has cost of projects been thoroughly discussed with them? I mean, it's a
Yeah,
huge
they've seen
difference
the
in
$2
cost.
figures.
Yeah,
And that's the reason why they, I guess, were originally in agreement that they would look at their site because they didn't want it to affect the town like a filtration plant would. Okay, so the second paragraph, they're indicating they wanna help out the town and they present their proposal. They are okay with the two possible well sites on School Street, which is good, A and D. Option E is, I don't even know where option E, that was another, report that Claude did that we weren't interested in doing. I believe that's up near the wastewater treatment plant, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah.
And F says a small strip of woods on School Street between the west side of our field and our west property line.
This is just,
That must have been that old email or something.
right, well, where is this?
Somewhere in here, maybe?
No. Let me see here. Where's School Street?
Right here.
That would be right here.
Okay,
This-
there, in this area?
No, that's, the school should be in this area.
That area, okay. Alright,
so say that again, this is the F?
that must be an old
Yeah.
report that Claude.
It's
It's A in the end, it's right there.
He's
Oh,
referencing.
that would be
I think it's
down
on the back.
by the.
Oh,
water
F
tower.
is
So-
over up this way.
Yes,
Okay,
way
that
up.
would be, that little
Yeah.
zone here by the school, and then the other one
Right.
is over on the other side by the water.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
wastewater plant and
Appreciate it.
fire.
I'm just trying to
Okay.
That zone in that
Okay,
section.
go on.
Right.
across the road. Okay, now I'm back up to speed again.
Okay.
So anyways,
Neither which Claude thought
Yeah.
was feasible.
And I can
Knowing-
understand near the
Yeah.
test well that.
knowing the
was
test well
already
at school
Right.
house site and test well at fire department, those were off the table now. Well, in either of these would be seen the best for logistics, that's true, and it has an impact to our cover that we can accept. Want to review the exact locations within these areas before any test well drilling is considered, that's not a problem. Separate from the project, we're having a logger remove trees under the direction of our forester. If we agree on this, a site, perhaps a loggers under direction of our forester could remove trees for the water project. That'd be great. I don't believe we're looking at cutting any logs. Cause that, the forest area is in actuality as part of that 200-foot buffer. We found the discussed impact to our land to be unclear. I'm not quite sure why. So before any testing, we need to generally contract generally following the SHARP contract, including clear statement of restrictions, fencing, and structures at the well site, example 100 feet radius, 200 foot radius. We we were pretty specific on the location that we would have the road go in. It would be located primarily along the wood line, whatever road they have there now.
Can I ask, is that field something is it hay, is it?
It's overgrown, nothing right now.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
It used to be hay and corn, didn't they grow
Yeah.
corn there too? And
yeah,
Mhm.
but since then,
been a long time since anything is,
other
Come
Are
on.
managers
they- are they
kind of like
brushing
taking
it,
over.
are they?
now they're talking about brushing it, let's just put it that way.
Mhm. Okay.
You haven't done any of it yet, I don't think.
Mhm.
So we talked about the little creek crossing where it would be, it's basically where it is now. Telling them, just like we did with the schoolhouse site, that they wanted a certain location for the road coming in, screening and so forth. We felt that the town was in the same position in that regard, but we would, work with a close family to come up with the best roadway to get back into their site. The water lines would be located under the road. The thing that I couldn't give them specific guidance on was the restriction. I said there'd be nothing going on within the 100-foot radius, but they were talking about pasturing animals out there. Could that be acceptable? I said health department would have to make that decision.
Okay, so what I'm giving you here, this is in appendix 5D, which are the standards for construction of public water supply wells. And these are the activities and
They're not allowed.
these are not allowed.
Thank you, Susan.
Oh my gosh, I have just the right number. How did I do that?
Good guess.
Okay, so, as Wayne said, all of these activities not within the 100-foot. And then not within 200 foot, and then not within 300 feet. So, storage areas for manure piles or land surface spreading or subsurface injection of liquid or solid manure. Animal pens.
They didn't act like there was gonna be a pen zone, it was just free ranging.
Just free range grazing.
Yeah, I mean, there is nothing in the code that talks about that.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I said it was gonna be up to you
Yeah.
on what you felt, and then I said, it's gonna be also the type of soils that are there.
it
If it's
has
a
to
clay,
do with the density of the animals, I mean, it's a judgment call. I'm
A
not,
capo wouldn't be a good thing.
correct,
A lone horse or cow wandering around probably wouldn't hurt anything. In between is judgmental.
right. So, and that's really, especially in the future, if this comes to fruition, that's really gonna be for the town to
Right.
police, to enforce, keep an eye on. But, I don't, frankly, I don't feel that that's a deal breaker.
I didn't think so, but I wasn't gonna speak on your behalf. Clear statement of area of land that is being leased for exclusive use or for non-exclusive use. Exclusive use, I would assume, would be the 200-foot, or excuse me, the 100-foot area. Depending on your discussion on the 200-foot, that could be the non-exclusive. The roadway going in would be, I guess, non-exclusive because you give them key to a gate if there's gonna be a gate at the entrance. And that, again, I'm not sure if that's even warranted. If you have the wellhead enclosed, just have fencing around that and have that locked, so.
Correct, yeah.
So that's pretty
fencing
easy
and
to
we-
define.
We can talk about fencing too, Wayne. I mean, what was the discussion about fencing that they were, maybe concerned about?
The concern they had was screening of the wellhead, the same as it was at the School Street site. I explained that can be as little as putting up some cedars or something just to keep it from the general public.
So they don't wanna see like chain link fencing around
They
there?
didn't-
Well, is
They
that,
didn't get to that point,
okay.
There was no indication.
no.
They were just curious about it,
Right.
because the thing is, there really is very little, there's little to nothing in, you know, like standard, the recommended standard for waterworks, there's nothing in here that says you must fence your well. You need to provide security for your well.
Right.
You know, there's nothing that says we have to fence off that 100 foot, there's nothing that says we have to fence off, you know, 20
Right.
feet around the wells.
Oh.
You know, it's just a means of providing security so that nobody's gonna mess with it.
Well, Wayne did explain to him that, you know, we're the Whopping Wildcat.
Yeah, absolutely, and,
And also that it has to be a disconnect because it would be remote from a generator location as well as a power source, that it would have to have a disconnect switch, which could be again hidden by the screen area.
Yeah.
and which would hide the wellhead also. So it didn't appear to me that that was an issue, especially if we can eliminate the fencing around the 100 foot.
yeah, there is no requirement for that, you know,
What about
after,
pasturing animals within the 100 feet? Would you have to have just a barbed wire fence to keep them?
How many animals?
Yeah.
well, and again, there's really not saying, nothing really saying, anything prohibiting pasturing of animals even within the 100 foot.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's the issue between,
Right.
you know, 50 pigs,
Yeah.
or like you say, you know, a lone horse or
And soil conditions and everything.
and soil conditions, right?
Let's see, the next item was exact location of roads and for drilling operation and permit access. We told them that they would be the ones that would basically tell us where they want the roads to go. So I'm not quite sure why, I think maybe they just wanna make sure that's defined, but we told them that we would anticipate trying to use any existing farm roads they had. That makes sense to, you know, create another road, go straight through the field, maybe shorter, but it bisects their operation, so. Removal of trees, again, we wouldn't be looking to remove trees, even if the wellhead was next to the trees, just as long as the well driller can get in there and do his thing. And all the better to eliminate the cost to the town for removal. But if they had a logger come in, maybe that's what they're concerned about. If you have a logger come in after you drill a well and they have a major hydraulic hose blow and got hydraulic fluids on the ground next to the wellhead, so it probably would be better for them to log it if they were thinking of logging it.
Pre-resident
Right.
posts.
Free, right. Again, I explained on the phone conversation about the land impacted by the construction of roads, buildings, pipes, electrical. I explained to him that, you know, when we were close to the School Street site, for the schoolhouse site rather, that we were gonna have the generator remote. However, this doesn't make sense to have.
Half miles too
Yeah.
much, yeah.
And we can't do that, so I said we would have probably a small generator building and control building for signaling back and forth between the tank, at the road somewhere, in the road right away. Probably you'd have to have a small easement around the building, just to get it out away from the road, from, you know, snow plowing and whatever. That, other than that would be the only impact that you really see. Again, pipes, power, everything would be underground going out to the wellhead. And there would be, and again, I shouldn't say no buildings at that location, depending on what they would allow at the wellhead. We could have, if it's screened, we could have a little control building there with power going into that, with a generator there, but that's all negotiable.
Sure.
As far
It
as-
has to be somewhere in that area though.
Right.
It can't be back at the tower.
Right, exactly.
No, and if you made something architecturally that looked like a farm shed or something,
Oh, yeah.
you know, perhaps that would be,
We have that technique.
Yeah.
So, and I thought he understood that. Maybe some of his family didn't quite understand what was going on there, but, next item, access to the well water for our agricultural use. That is definitely not anything I wanna touch. That's dependent upon what the town wants to do. I assume that meaning he gets some kind of water.
The biggest problem there, I think, is you can't sell raw water.
that's not so.
True.
You
That's
can give
not
them
so.
raw water for their livestock.
If there is an understanding, we do that in Port Kent, okay,
Oh, okay, from
they
before
sell,
it goes,
they
yeah.
sell raw water to the golf course. Now, you would have, it would be metered, it would not be free, you know, they would pay for it.
Mhm.
And it speaks to the next one, access to the electric. Well, sure, you're running a power line in, absolutely share the cost of that, you know, of that, allow them to tap off of that. But you're not gonna provide them
No.
with electric power, they would have a meter there. Likewise, and what will happen is, of course, it will depend on how much water you have. If you have water to spare,
Right.
sure, sell it to them. But you would have a contractual agreement with them that it is raw water, it is only intended for irrigation, agricultural purposes. It is not meant to be potable water, and they can only use that water when it's available to them. Like, for example, the golf course, they cannot draw water unless the town says, yes, we have sufficient water for you to have. The way that system is worked, when the raw water pump, when they are filtering, they don't wanna be providing that water to the golf course. It's, so there has to be cooperation and coordination.
Right.
You know, because the primary reason to have that water system is to serve the people.
Right.
But it's also a nice way for the water district to also have revenue.
Could they use it to water the cows that they have
Sure.
grazing there?
Sure. You know,
As
I mean,
long as
that's
the
not
source
the
is
health
available,
department.
then-
Yeah, that's not the health department. I think ag markets may, I don't know, I mean, cows drink out of farm ponds.
I know that,
and-
I know that, but that's not our water. If the cow keels over and dies, is
That's
there
why,
potential liability
You-
because there was something unknown in the water that?
that's what, well, you'll know what's in the water, for heaven's sakes. I mean, you
Yeah.
do enough water quality monitoring, so.
I'm just thinking of
it's-
potential lawsuits.
Absolutely, but that's where you have a contractual agreement.
Like
with
those
them.
clauses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me of the Port Kent thing, that was an after fact.
It was
and
an
they were responsible for all infrastructure to provide it to their site.
That's correct. So that would be the thing, and you have backflow prevention. You know, you wanna know how, if they're gonna store that, or if they're, which is really the best thing. I mean, they should have some reservoir for storing it and then, you know, using it. You don't necessarily, I don't know what they're talking about as far as using it for agriculture, as far as irrigating the fields, whatever. You know, what works best is to have it pumped into some sort of a storage tank and then work off that. You know, I mean, those are details that can
They
be worked out.
may end up having to have a little building there to accomplish what they wanna do,
Mhm.
which if they need a
It
building,
doesn't
we
affect
could,
us.
if they wanted to pay part of the cost, we could have a separate section on the
Mhm.
building, just enough to carry for their needs, and they can help pay for the cost of operating the heat and the lights and whatever, so, okay. So, those two items are, and indemnification against, that's an illegal thing, I assume that's similar to what happened at the schoolhouse site. Specification of what happens if and when the well is taken out of service, we just abandon it, just like we did at the school site, so. My biggest concern was that they wanted a lot of specificity, and at this point in time, we can't give them as much as I think they would like, because we don't even know if they get water.
Right, we gotta
So I
find
know,
out.
I don't wanna spend a lot of design time on anything and then find out we don't have water. Biggest thing is a temporary impact to get out to the site to drill a well, period.
Mhm.
But the next thing though is, even with all of this, it sounds to me that you're gonna be going into the same situation you did with the, schoolhouse, I can't remember their last name.
Sharp.
Sure.
Sharps, should remember that. But anyways,
If you were
as
sharp,
I,
you would've.
yeah, if I was sharp, I would've remembered it. Hey, it's Friday night, this was my day off.
When you retire, you get a lot of days off.
Yeah, when I retire, yeah. So anyways, I know what Mr. Kissel is gonna tell you, just like he told you on the shark parcel, you're gonna have to go through the whole process all over again, I assume. That's something he's gonna have to decide.
Like on this one here, I mean, we already have an agreement with them, they get free water.
Who's that? These guys?
Ooh,
Well, that's another thing to keep in mind too, is depending on.
But that was intended for the house and the barn
oh,
Right, not,
right here, not for anywhere else on their property.
Right, well, plus it depends on the negotiations you have.
Correct.
If they decide to come back, say with the Sharp proposal of so much a year,
Yep,
as opposed to free water, I would think the town would much rather give them, you know, a penny a gallon or some type of thing, as opposed to the 3,000.
yeah.
I don't, whatever, that's up for negotiation.
when they were doing the Sharp family, they were, one reason they said we could probably drill on their land is because they didn't want the town to incur any cost any more than what was there. You know, because, when they put the water tower in, they give them free water, then, you know, that was, and then the same thing with the sewer. They provided all the land for the sewer plant and everything else up there, so these are the trade-offs. that
And if
they
this
did.
is the type of thing that they are going to, if they do decide that we can have it cost-free, so to speak, then that weighs against the revenue part and what we would charge them for water.
Right,
So that's what my only comment on that.
but you'd have to limit it up to what we
Yeah.
have.
Right.
yeah, I mean, if you're talking about water for irrigation and
Right.
stock, I mean, that's a lot more water.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
And
And we don't know that we're even gonna find water or how
Right.
much we will find.
obviously, that's the thing that they have to understand. If
Right.
you only have enough to provide the town,
Right,
you can't be allowing them
Right.
to do
We
it.
won't know
Right,
yet until we find out what's there.
right.
right, and I think that's where maybe Wayne and I we'll get together.
Well, I think you should bring Susan along,
I'm happy
Right.
to.
because she
attend.
can explain this 300, 100, 200, what is allowed, what isn't allowed, and it'll be just as clear as it possibly can be.
Well, and I'd also be really happy to speak to the negatives about going to the lake,
Mhm.
you know, for the using having a filtration plant there. Because you know, Wayne, I'm sure you did a great job talking to them about that, but sometimes it's good to have that same message come from multiple sources,
Right,
so.
well, before, when we did the conference call, we did have, it was Wayne, me, and Claude
Mm-hmm.
there, and, we can, I would say we'd set up another conference. call.
That might help, because what we're talking about on cost, right now, there's still a limited time from that grant way back that we shouldn't have any longer from when I was supervisor. Once that's gone, there is no grant, and there's really no hope of a grant. The only hope of a grant would be perhaps a shared services. If we go to the lake and it's $3 million, that's all gonna be borrowed, that's all gonna be paid back, there will not be any grants. We no longer qualify any because we were lucky they let us have the grant the first time, but now they want everybody's income. We're not qualifying for any grants.
That's correct.
Poverty's out of the question for Essex.
And
So it's 3 millions or 2 millions or 5 million, whatever it is, that's all money that we will have to pay back to RA or wherever we get our money from. So right now we do have a grant. If we went ahead with the well, that would cover some of it. and it'll be a lot lower amount. If you go for that from the lake, it's all taxpayer money, there's gonna be nothing.
The funds that are secured right now aren't lost if you have to go to the lake. You can close on that and keep that money.
Yeah, but it's not the remainder, I mean,
Anything above that
Right,
definitely
is
would be
gonna be-
borrowed, but that
Yeah.
money would not be
Right.
lost.
Right.
So it wouldn't 100%
What
Wouldn't
is
be
the amount of
covered.
our loan, I mean, a
the
grant?
grant.
1.2.
one point.
And what are we looking at on the lake, ballpark?
Way back, it was somewhere around 5 million.
Right.
Or 10.7.
Yeah. So, you know,
Speaking of timing, it's perfect time.
yes,
There we go.
I did a little bit of backwards work. Sometimes I can do better backwards work.
okay,
So your long-term closing has a date of 9/26/16.
So that's
That's-
Sharon, that's where the date that Ron is referring to
Correct.
as far as potentially losing that funding.
Right.
Because there has been an extension, you closed on your short-term financing, that 2016 is a drop dead
that's the
date.
drop dead.
And the problem is the time frame to design and,
I got that right.
okay, here we go.
Cause they're not gonna close on something that's not built, am I correct?
Yes, they will.
Yeah,
Will
they
they?
will,
Yeah.
well, go ahead,
Yeah.
Wayne.
Which
So
is
you
not-
start back with that drop dead date.
Okay,
At that point, you can have all kinds of things going on and still close for your 3 whatever million, but that's all you're gonna get. And hopefully you have a project to go with at that point in time, but figure about 3 months, that's fairly conservative, but maybe it'll take longer for EFC to do the closing. Minimum of 2 months, cause they
Right.
lose stuff, and you ask for it again. I know, I'm on television.
Well, they
So-
have a high turn, they have a
You're not saying
very high
anything that isn't
turnover
correct.
of staff,
So
and
we're
there are a lot of projects.
So
going on.
we got, we're at 6/26/16. In order to know the estimated final contract cost for your project, you need to award the contracts at least a month before that. So you're talking 5/26/16. Then you have minimum 2 months of bid time, you know, doing addendums, advertising the whole 9 yards. So now you're at 3/26/16. You gotta give APA, DEC, Army Corps, Department of Health, DOT, Essex County, whoever else is gonna be involved in the review, at least 2 to 3 months. So now you're at December
well, you're not
26th.
gonna escape the 2 or 3 months?
I was optimistic. So you're looking at 12/26 this year. Depending on what type of project you go, you have a design that will last anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and that's being optimistic. So you have to know what you're gonna do by
June
the
of this year.
latest July 1st. If we do test wells and report, that's a minimum of 3 months' time. So now you're drop dead to get this started is no later than April 26th this year, or else you won't have a problem. Filter plant, it's next week. So that's the timing we've got. If you slide in any of these now, you will not have a project, you'll lose your money, and it'll be gone.
Let's go to the
I'll
money,
get a copy for everybody for long.
let's go back to the money.
Yep.
How much grant and how much loan are they committed to us?
1.8, I think, is the total project.
That includes what we spent on test wells at the firehouse,
Yeah.
and up here at the ball diamond and all that stuff,
Yep.
out of that.
How much have we already spent?
We went through that,
I
I
know you did, right?
can't remember what it was that I sent.
140.
Less than 200,
No, we haven't spent that.
okay.
Your principal payment, September 26th, is 1.8 million, 1.831. Now, in between there, you're gonna have a principal payment, I believe, this year. And I'm not sure what that's
That
gonna be.
September was going to be about 30.
Yeah, so you got a payment coming up shortly, so, or not shortly,
September.
6 months. So, I believe the numbers were 3/4, 1/4, so 1.2, 1.3 grant, and the rest was loan, as I recall.
2 million grant, or loan, no interest
Okay.
loan.
So what the maximum that we can count on is 3 million, a little bit better?
Well, you borrowed, or you did a bond resolution for just a little under 3.
Okay,
What you'd have to do is, once you got your costs together, they would give you a grant, and I believe they would give you any overage
They will,
above the,
okay.
they will
the
give
1
you
point.
loans. Yes,
Yeah.
they will give you
Okay.
additional loan money
For
and
0%.
for 0%, which is fine, but it's still, you know, you still should be looking at how many users you have in your district. And
Correct,
what that's gonna be costing everybody per month.
but
0% is awesome,
if we're
But it's
doing
still
wells,
millions
if
of
we
dollars.
go ahead, if we can get permission to do the wells,
Mhm.
you're not gonna spend $3 million.
Hopefully not.
No, you shouldn't.
If he can't do it for less than that, he's not gonna live to hunt another year, I'll tell you that.
No, absolutely, Ron,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, but if we're talking down on the lake, A, we don't have enough money committed at this point in time. B, if we got additional loan, it probably wouldn't be at 0%.
No, you're stuck with what you got right now. You get 0%, but it
You
would
could
be,
get
If it came
additional-
5 million, they'd give it to you at 0%.
They could give
Okay.
you that at 0%.
That's better than I thought. I thought we'd be paying
But
nothing
again-
guaranteed in life.
But, well, it's not guaranteed, but that's been how the
Yeah.
process
That's-
is. You can, but again,
It's a
I know.
whopping amount of
$5
money.
million for how many
170
users?
amount of people.
Correct,
Exactly.
It's not affordable
Correct.
for Essex.
No, it's
Correct.
not.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I just wanted the figures there.
Yeah.
Anybody can run the math. Bill, you got a calculator?
Well, sure will, get one.
Just so we can have it for the
Yeah, just
record.
for ha-has, run through, yep, yep.
The only thing that concerns me about this whole email is that very last paragraph. When she is talking,
In bold letters.
I think I'll let
the
you go.
whole letter,
I've been known to have trouble with figures.
and I just wonder
Okay,
what her feeling was on that. She says,
okay, we're talking, let's go with your old figure of 5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have 1 million ballpark.
1.2 million roughly for grant
Let's call it 1 million, so we're talking 4 million would have to borrow.
over 30 years.
4, 1, that's a lot of zeros.
You can do it, Ron.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No? I gotta go another one, right?
I don't know what you're doing.
I'm
He's
trying to
taken
figure,
4 million.
4 million is 6 zeros?
Yep.
Okay. Divided by 30 years. Where's the equal here, Bill?
It's not that
Down
common
on the
form,
bottom.
is it?
it probably is.
That's,
It's common core.
133,333 dollars a year.
So divide that by,
$785 a year.
Divide that by, call it 200,
I-
Oh, you're
We
right
got that.
about to, no,
170,
170.
That's what it is per year,
170 equals
784.
784 per household
That's
okay,
a-
per year, not operating costs, just payback.
right, and that does not include what debt you currently have.
Correct, no, this is all new stuff.
That's all new, so you're talking over $1,000 a year
Yeah.
per household
Which is just
For water.
for water.
And now another 1,000 for sewer. Okay,
So,
So Claire, I'm sorry, if we could go back to what your concern was, I'd like to know what it is.
Well, no, I just was concerned. I wanted to know what her feeling was when she was talking, because it says, there are many issues and considerable uncertainty of outcome, which again makes using the water from the lake a more interesting option. I mean, it's in bold letters. I wanna know what her feeling was. I mean, I wanna know, is she saying, you know, we'll do all of these wonderful things, and in the end, we're gonna say no?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what, I don't know. I
You know,
mean,
that's where,
We've
I-
been told no before. This
I
is not
know,
first.
but my God, I don't wanna spend, the thing of it is, you don't wanna keep spending money. If you spend all of this money, you do another test well, and at the end, they say, oh no, we didn't wanna do that.
That's why I say.
You don't do a test well till you have an agreement signed, sealed, and delivered.
Well, I know that, but
And I
Which-
think that what
You
we
can't,
gotta
you
do
can't
is-
go there without an agreement.
Yep,
did
and
you
that's
get
why-
any chance of them coming up? Cause sometimes
No.
face to face.
No, you do it over the
Okay.
phone.
No, but I
Yeah.
mean,
That's too bad.
was she
By the
on
time
the
they get
phone
here,
with
it's
you
too late.
guys?
No,
Oh, just George or
George.
Bob?
Bob,
Bob, or no? who is it?
I don't know what she-
Bob and George are the two guys,
Right.
and Katie is the girl
I
who's
think
been
it was
involved.
George.
Yeah, I think it was George.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter, but I mean, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, you know, what is their true feeling about this?
The tone of the conversation was, I was very pessimistic after I got done the
I think the
conversation.
whole, all three of us were.
Right, but I think we all agree that you need to make one more effort. Gotta make one more phone call, and Susan be on and explain, this is exactly what you can and can't do, and this is what we want, but where they're talking about drilling, there's no water, according to
Caught. I mean, it's
According to
the
law, there's no water there, so if they're not interested in one of the two sites that have it,
Where,
Oh.
where they wanna do what?
See, they're talking about E, and that, I think Ronnie's talking
Oh,
Right.
no, that's what they said up above it. They would be
They
agreeable
said
to
they
the
go
schoolhouse.
to year after you said there's no water
Okay.
there.
A well in either of these areas would seem to be desolate.
but there's no
Under
water
School Street,
there,
yeah.
according to Claude. Or a lesser chance.
But I thought we were talking about site A.
Right.
And
I
A is the site
Yeah,
that
they're
we
not-
were
they
discussing.
They don't say that in
They don't
this
say
email.
anything about A or whatever in this email. That was another concern.
Okay,
They're talking about E and F, which are not spots that Claude thought were.
I think.
No,
One, he said definitely not worth trying, cause it's between
Says-
the two places where we
What did
failed.
you say? A
Just
and F?
above option E, it says we would be okay with 2 possible well site in the wooded area along School Street.
Was that the A and whatever, or is that E and F?
I assumed
I
it
mean, I
was
don't
A
know.
and D.
No, E and F are not along School Street.
Okay, so it's gotta be,
At least,
well, we need
one of
to
them is the
learn-
one there right by the sewer plant,
right,
and that's not a viable thing.
Okay, maybe I misread that. Maybe it is the option E along, it says
No,
I think here again,
along.
you need to
School-
clarify and then
we've
call.
gotta get on the phone with,
Yeah.
and do a conference call, and, do it again like we did Wayne
And
from
you,
your office.
Yep, that's fine.
yeah, excuse me, Ed. So Wayne, this E and F sites, Claude did have those on some
That was
map?
on a way back, one of the original hydrologic evaluations, but it was,
When they were looking at the firehouse
Yeah.
and all these other
Yeah,
places.
yeah. Can we, and what would be good is if you could find a map that has A through F. Make sure we all have a copy of
Right,
it.
Bill's
Check to see if
office.
I got
Bet you do.
on the wall.
And I'm sure I have it in my office, but it'd be good to, make sure we all know that we're on the same place.
I mean, I'm not against wells at all, but I'm just saying, you know,
Right.
since I'm the only one that sits on the
It's the only
board that's on the
affordable thing
water,
we
I
have.
mean, you know.
Back then, the 1980, or the 2008 report, favorable zones were up by the wastewater treatment plant, the fire department, down by their house, maybe that's what they're talking about, and over on School Street down on Pataki's property.
And are there letters on that as far
Yeah,
as?
there's A, B, C, D.
So,
I don't know what E and F are,
I think you.
because that's what I thought they were
Bill
talking
Hall?
about.
The Bill, yes, and Bill's office.
Oh, it's not there anymore.
So do you know where it is, Bill?
Do you have the other reports from Clyde here?
Is there anything in that folder that you have there, Bill,
For,
on the water?
Any other Claude's report though, since the two
oh, I
thousand
get
eight,
you the cloud report, yeah. I don't have it right here, but I do have it.
like the 2000?
I took a
What was
picture of
the-
it one day, so I have
Trying to
it.
think, that's 2010 or 2011?
It's 2014, the map that was on Bill's
Oh.
wall that I took a picture of, and I'll,
Okay.
email
I
it to
think
you.
it's this one right there. I have.
Oh, so it doesn't have the E and F. This one, this is the one that you have. This was his most recent.
Let me see what I can find.
Yeah, that's this report that I
Right.
have. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So Claude hasn't done anything up there for sonar or anything?
Where they're,
Where he is, right.
We don't know.
I
We're unsure what
I
spot they're
only have one
talking
hand,
about.
and,
see, when,
I mean, I
when they
only
were
have two
talking,
hands, but,
we'd be okay with the two possible sites in the wooded area along School Street. I assumed
Okay.
it was the D and A, which we
The
talked about.
west
on the phone.
edge of their field
And that's
is
what
what's farther out School Street. That's across where, from above Benways, up almost Eddie's property. Cause they own right to basically Eddie's property. So the west edge of their field, that's that overgrown field by Benways. The west edge of it is right up to where it joins Ed's property.
Which
Where's
A and D,
There's the west edge right
and
there.
they're
Yeah, well,
right
that's what they're
on
talking, is right there.
the fault lines that he had
That's
identified.
Ed's property right there. So they're
That's
talking
where the
between
way
their
was-
field,
That's
this area here they're
I would
talking
think
about,
that's it.
which is not on our anything.
No, he did actual seismic or
That's F.
physical studies for those two locations.
The VLF.
Okay,
it's
E
the
is
VLF.
from the water tower west along School Street to the east edge of our field. Well, that's down between the water tower and, the schoolhouse, so that's not gonna work.
That's on the same region. that-
It's over there. So this, what they're talking about here is F. Right at the end of their property, right below where Ed's field is, where you've got some slabs and wood drawn up there where it flattens out. Just
Where are
as
you,
hill,
where are you talking about?
right here,
Just to the west of site D.
right in this corner,
Oh,
west of
okay.
D. This is the western edge of their property. And this is the field, so between here and here, they say is okay, but
And that's.
I don't know why they came up with as F for that, and then E is down here.
Okay, well, E is out.
E is
because that's
out.
So close to your existing.
Exactly, that's right here, and no reason to expect water there.
Okay.
So this is beyond the D area, and perhaps even over farther beyond the A area, I don't know.
We'll just look on to Edgewater.
Yep,
You know, frankly, if you can.
but reading what they say, that's how they describe it.
Okay.
Those are the two places.
I mean, if that F is in a wooded area,
Yeah, it
I
is.
mean, that, you know, and you can get to it with a drilling rig. Actually, that
Yeah,
takes away the whole curse of the, you know, the animals pasturing and stuff. 'cause,
Unless you cut down trees.
Oh, they're gonna cut down the trees.
I can email. it
Where
to
is
you,
the
but
spring that
the
Tilly's
letters
talking
are-
about?
Oh,
I can show you that.
Can you?
Because she's,
Oh,
what Tilly commented on it,
Oh,
she
that's
said,
great.
well, what about if they go near the spring? She said they
I'm
always,
trying to get oriented.
they always had
Right here.
tons of water.
So the,
That's right across from here, and that's what, Jimmy Morse's
all
nephew.
right, there's the
Right,
storage.
okay, yes, because,
Ralston.
because they. put
Ralston's
down and
right
they were
here.
supposed to-
That's right over in this
What map is
area.
this,
All
Sharon?
right.
This is.
Exactly
was on
where, I
Bill's,
don't know,
Is
but it's
that,
not far from D.
dated,
It's not far from
July
D.
14,
Nope.
okay.
from
Well,
This
she, when
was,
Tilly was
uh,
talking, she was talking
no,
about
that's
going
Build a
someplace.
But that's
near the
surface
spring.
water, we can't use
Oh, no, I know
Oh,
that,
wait,
no,
this
no,
one.
I know
Oh,
that.
I see,
it's
yeah.
dated on the bottom of that.
Well, I don't know.
But this is
This
the
one
area at
doesn't
the west end, beyond their west,
No, that has
between
all
their
of
field and the
Uh-huh.
west property line.
Pardon?
Now, maybe in here, that's kinda not too far
It
from
does,
A
and
and D.
they threw up on it?
But these are the spots he came up from, and apparently, he
Okay.
walked everywhere, and this wasn't a
Color
good site to them, I
So
don't
see
know.
the green
But I
are
say,
some
this,
of them,
this thing
and the
kind of
blue are
bothered me
some.
when I read
And these
that,
are
it
their-
sounds to me like she
these are
didn't
Tell us to
really.
go to hell.
Exactly,
They're-
that's
they're all
basic
over
thing,
all
so
the
why are we gonna?
Send it all for naught.
At least let's
Yeah.
just
I mean, I
get
don't
But I do think we have to pursue it,
January.
and have them
14th.
officially tell us to
So
grant
they
it.
call it anything after.
I mean, we cannot leave that as a hanging
Just
participle.
Bill just
Well, we
had,
have
they
to be
didn't
sure
have
to
those
tell
on.
them that.
No, this gotta be cleared up right away, there is no time.
Well, that's.
There is no
that's what I'm
time.
saying.
And
Said how long we
it's
got to
January.
straighten this out, well, there is no time, we gotta do it right away.
No, but I mean, they're gonna want a contract that they can read and go through for
If,
months.
but if we're agreeable, where she's talking about
The other
is
direction.
beyond their west field and the west line, well, that's the west line with you. So this area right here, that's one part, and the other one they talked about was down here between the water tower and the school,
That's C.
which we know is no good.
The F.
No.
Yeah,
this
that's-
is
that's
School
E,
Street.
and this is F up
That's
here.
red sharp and that's orange.
And that's not too far from A and D, but Claude didn't put a nice little X there,
Their
so.
parcel, which is over toward Ron's, this is the sharp parcel, or just above the sharp parcel, there's no other, nothing else,
Yeah,
there's nothing over here.
See, these are the two locations where this A
Yep.
and D are.
So that's
A
that one
and
and
D
that
are,
one, and he's talking, Ron's saying this area here is what they're talking about now,
This
right, this
F.
area.
Which these aren't necessarily on,
No.
what was the date of this one?
This is, just recent.
They've apparently
You see, I think
described
he's
these, cause
done
there's
that.
nothing we
Okay,
have on
I think
there.
that's what,
Yeah.
yeah.
That they're,
I'll
they
send
making
you
up
that.
a point
Okay,
E and a
thank you.
point F.
Yeah.
That's their option, we don't have those.
Maybe that's why they did that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why E and F came up. 'Cause
Yeah,
went-
they made that.
B.
Well,
E is down here and F is up here by you folks.
so Wayne, it would be good for you to talk to Claude and see if he has a map that shows that E and F on
I
it.
think they
I don't
made
think
it
he
up.
does. Because what he's describing here as option E is to the west of what Claude just did.
So he just added letters.
I mean, he went all
Okay.
over.
No, the Close family did.
Yeah, okay.
I assume when he went on their property, he went everywhere.
Yeah,
So he said this is good, he didn't say this was good, so he must not think that's good.
no, he went based on these images that he had for fault structures. and
Oh,
so forth.
okay, so he didn't go everywhere.
But then, well, he pinpointed those locations from his mapping to go to the zone that was the best.
Right,
And that's where he came up with the point in the
gotcha.
field.
So anyway, Wayne, you will verify with Claude that he has not identified an E and an F.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
But going back to the original, the last question I had was, are are the town going to have to go through the same permissive referendum process as you did before, because you're coming up with an agreement with,
They probably would.
so that was,
Well, we ain't come up with an agreement yet, so. I
if you
think,
get an agreement.
if you
then
get an agreement,
so-
yes.
And if
We're
they say
hurt.
that there's no money,
Well, yeah,
then there is.
that's what I'm saying, we don't have any time to do
I
this.
don't think, if there's no money involved, I don't know.
No, I think the way he presented it is you're committing the town to something down the road.
Right,
Is that, because you didn't have to come up with any money with Sharp to do the test well,
No. No,
but you were
that-
committing,
But down the road, we.
Down the road.
right,
right.
Yeah.
And it'd be the same thing here.
I'm sure. They're not
You
gonna,
don't know what, you know, like you say, what if they're gonna do that.
Until
It's-
Russ is still in
it's-
charge.
it's making me much more pessimistic now that Ron's enlightened me of what we're talking about for areas, and now things are starting to click, and I think they came up with the options E and F, that
Okay.
had nothing to do with any reporting.
I couldn't, you know, I have nothing to get at,
But F is not,
I don't remember anything.
F is not terribly far from A and D.
No, it's not, but
You can throw a stone there, so.
I can ask Claude to look at his information and see.
I would do that before you call.
I think-
This is useless. E is useless, just,
No.
we know that. But F, have them look on that and just
I mean, the way.
west of D and A.
the way-
Cause they don't say how far in, so I don't think that's a problem, but anywhere along close to Ed's property line, I think would be alright.
They, when Claude was explaining it there, he said that, like A was where the faults were.
Right, where they all come together,
If you move over 10 feet,
there's no fault there.
right,
I think you're right, but maybe there's some smaller faults or something, I don't know. It's just worth clarifying with Claude
Yes,
before you talk to them.
yes.
So, cause you don't wanna say, oh, that was, well, you know, really, maybe that's not just, you wanna clarify before you talk to them. And then you gotta call them right away, because the clock is ticking and there's not much time. And I don't see the town being able to afford $1,000 a person in debt. I just don't see how we could afford that.
that's where we get to the on it.
Right,
Right, so what's gonna happen here? This deal falls through. So what's gonna happen?
Well, we just
I
ruled
mean,
out,
I don't know.
we just ruled out the lake.
So we all have to move.
The only other option is the possibility of doing something with Willsboro. Problem with that is right now, they need a source just like we do.
I don't think that's
So-
what you're looking for, Wayne, but.
Maybe you could have an agreement with Willsboro jointly, looking for something, but that's not gonna be cheap either, running the pipe from Willsboro.
pipe is so expensive.
So there's more probably.
And the other thing is, right now, Ed gets along fine with Sean,
You can keep
but if
that.
they get another Eddie Hatch in there, well then things aren't gonna be so good.
I've got one
Oh,
at the office.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, what do we do if this deal falls through? Yes, as Ron said, we can look to Willsboro, but I mean, we're still gonna be here in limbo.
Correct.
So what do we do?
Well, I don't have the answer for you today, Claire.
I
You know, our job right now is to
Pursue this
I
one more
know,
time.
pursue this,
understand.
pursue
But
this.
you see, none of these guys are on this water system. I am.
Mhm.
Nobody sitting here is on this water system.
You're correct.
No, but they also do have your best interest
I know they
at
do, and
heart.
I don't doubt that for a second. But I don't like, you know, the uncertainty. I'll move out with Mark then. I don't know.
Drilling a well is uncertain.
Yeah,
Well, everything is uncertain, and I understand that. But I mean, okay, if all these proposals fall through, what do we have to do?
Well, you have a good team, you have a good engineer, we will find a solution. The thing is,
the problem is finding an affordable
that's
solution.
that's-
correct.
That's the problem.
correct.
That's the
That's
word,
correct.
right there.